Are you ready?
I'm ready.
All right, boys and girls, ladies and gentlemen, people of Earth, planet Earth. This is the John Peckman podcast coming to you from Connecticut Valley School of Music and Dance podcast studio in beautiful downtown Portland, Connecticut, USA. Come over the bridge, start looking left. You will see the store. And we are here today with special guest, Mr. Dave Stoltz. David. Whatever.
I still don't know.
Yeah. All right, Dave Stoltz, great bass player. I've played with many times. Been around, been up, down, over, around. Great bass player. One of the best dudes around. Also a teacher, right? Been teaching a long time.
Yes.
And I don't know. I guess maybe most notably playing with Jaimoe's jazz band recently, right? Jaimoe from the legendary Allman Brothers band. Dave Stoltz. Here he is, boys and girls.
Evening.
Yes, sir. So how's it going?
Good. Glad to be here with you.
Yeah, man. How'd you like the biblical rainstorm we had before?
I was teaching in a room with no windows.
Oh,
so,
you didn't even know. Oh, you should have seen it, bro.
I heard the thunder.
Yeah. It's pretty wild.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
It was of biblical proportions.
A little biblical. What'd you do over the 4th? Tell us about your 4th of July.
Let me think. I did pretty well, close to nothing.
Oh, good.
I stayed in. I didn't go out.
Perfect.
Was wonderful.
Did your patriotic duty?
I did.
Yeah.
I it was my way of participating.
Perfect. Yeah.
But
sounds great.
Hey, I felt good.
Hey, man. Whatever. We're here.
Yep.
Like I always say, we're here. We're dressed. We're good. It's all good.
Indeed.
So tell us about yourself. You are a bass player.
True.
Yeah. So go take us to the beginning, I suppose, and then we'll work our way up. I don't know. This is going to be interesting because I don't know a lot of the answer to a lot of this, but you are from
West Hartford.
Oh, okay. West Hartford native.
Yes.
That's cool. So how did you get interested in music? How did it all start for you?
Beatles.
Oh.
Ed Sullivan Show.
Really?
That's it.
That was it.
Yep. I was like done. I'd never picked up a guitar in my life, but I knew that was what I wanted to do.
Wow. Cool. Guitar. Not bass. Not yet.
Bass. It took a while.
Oh, okay. So started on guitar.
And I was walking downtown with my mom, who I was like 12 years old or something like that. We walked past Melody Music.
Okay.
Which was on, I believe at the time, on Asylum Street.
Okay.
And there was in the window a Fender Precision bass. And it was probably a 64.
Okay.
And when I looked at this thing, I was like, oh my God.
Really?
I felt like Butthead. This is the coolest thing I've ever seen.
Is that before you saw the Beatles?
No, it was after.
Okay.
It was after.
But you recognize it as a bass because I would imagine,
I think I was already, I might have already been playing guitar, but when I saw this thing, I just couldn't believe how cool it looked. It had that amazing sunburst. It had a tortoiseshell pickguard. What could be better?
Yeah, right.
Nothing.
So you weren't interested in the Hofner that McCartney played?
I was because the sound of it I thought was exceptional. They cranked it up a little bit more than maybe other music was at that time.
Okay,
because the bass was not barely seen and not heard quite so much. So and we had this stereo, a Webcore, and it was tube.
Yeah, right. Sure.
Everything was tube then.
Oh yeah.
So right now we're around 64 or so. So because of that, and it had this beautiful cabinet and everything, and it sounded, it made the bass sound as good as it should sound.
Right.
It was made to sound.
Right.
And that blew me away too.
Oh, that's cool.
And not to mention the way the way the thing looked.
Yeah, right.
Unbelievably cool.
Yeah.
Great.
So you were like, I want one.
So I was like, yeah,
cool.
I'm ready. Like you said before, you said, you ready? Like, well, well, I was ready.
Did you have a guitar?
I did.
At this point?
It was a $21 import.
Okay.
And it was absolutely horrible. It did not look that great.
Oh, okay.
Especially when the strings were a mile high off the fingerboard.
Yeah, right.
Dave was laughing because
And you didn't know
exactly what I mean.
Yeah, sure.
We've all had a few.
Yeah, and you didn't know anything about lowering the action. Yeah.
Well, it didn't have an adjustable truss.
Oh,
rod.
so not so just that. Oh well,
screwed.
that's all you get.
Just hang on to it till you can get something else.
Yeah, and then the neck turns into a banana. And that's what you get.
That's about it.
Yeah.
Yep.
I hear you. So the switch to bass begins.
Yeah, it began around the age of probably 14.
Okay.
And
you didn't completely, because I know you play guitar still, you didn't completely ditch the guitar.
No, but I was spending less time on it.
Sure. Right. You're all about the bass. You're like, okay, this is my realm.
I like those low notes.
Yeah, I don't blame you. I do too. I started as a bass player. Did you know that? Did you ever know that?
I did not. I didn't ever know that.
Not that it matters. I noticed.
Well, it does matter because then we get to ask you why it took so long to find this out.
Oh, everybody knows if they've listened to the podcast. I'm starting to repeat myself. But no, I wanted to play bass too. First.
I would imagine you'd be a terrific bass player.
Kind of, not really, but in a roundabout way. That's why I started picking it up a little bit when I started teaching, and you can hear how mediocre. When I sometimes teach with Dave, he'll occasionally, that note's wrong. Everybody does that. Ed used to do that too.
Oh yes,
I'll be playing and you'll be like, dude.
At the beginning of your bass playing career.
Yeah. So it'd be like, But anyway, I understand the bass bug is what I'm trying to say. I got the bass bug too.
And you were getting, week by week.
Yep.
As I'm like, wow, John's he's getting there.
Oh yeah, whatever.
And then I saw the upgrade to a new bass.
Oh yeah,
you got the Thunderbird.
The Thunderbird, yeah.
It's like, wow.
Anyway, I don't want to talk about it.
Man is on his way.
Yeah, getting there.
Let's talk about it.
No, let's not.
Okay, let's not.
Talk about you. So you got the bass bug. Now you're all about the bass.
Yeah. And I started to pay more attention to bass players.
Sure.
And started to, at the age of 14 or 15, started getting out.
Yep.
A little bit.
Sure.
With supervision to hear and see what other bass players were doing. So this is my, time to acknowledge live music and what a difference and what an influence it had. Mm-hmm. And there was one night where I went to see, finally, the Wild Weeds.
Oh, okay. Wow.
And the Wild Weeds.
Here we go.
Where they already, No Good to Cry was already out.
Mm-hmm.
So I knew who they were and all that, and, all the more reason to go. And I was totally blown away.
Wow.
Because for all the right reasons.
Oh, yeah.
They were just plain, they were terrific. They sang great. They played well together, so well together. They had this amazing chemistry.
Yep.
They had
that's what I've heard.
Wonderful chemistry.
I've never seen them, but I live in the comet tale of this. I'm younger than you by not too much, but yeah, I know that was like the initial one of the big bangs that most people, they responded to. And
I watched Bob Dudek, the bass player, who was, in 1966, he's playing a fretless Hofner.
Oh, wow. Huh.
As far as
it's pretty rare.
As far as I knew, nobody had ever done this before. And he was blind.
Oh, wow.
And he was singing lead.
Wow.
And I was like, overwhelmed. And plus, he was terrific. He to my ears, he sounded in tune as could be.
Yeah, right.
And always did.
Right.
And
must have been the first fretless bass you were ever aware of.
Absolutely.
Yeah, you're like, this is
I found out years later, Bill Wyman talked about it, and he was probably the very first. He was 1961.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And
I didn't even know when they made them. I don't even know when they started making them.
Yeah.
Fretless basses.
Right.
That's gotta be a
the
heavy
first
thing.
ones were all, with kitchen.
Oh, really?
Cookware or
right.
appliances or whatever.
Right.
A knife to dig those frets out and then fill them in with putty or something like that.
Oh yeah. Oh sure.
As Jocko did.
Right. Sure.
But anyway, so Bob was a huge influence, and I thought it even more pointed me in that direction.
Sure. So you were like, this is it. This is what I'm going to keep doing.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Did you have a band of your own by this point?
Yes.
Okay.
Professional? No.
Not yet.
But
getting there.
We were on our way.
Yeah, that's cool. This would have been what year? Like you say, 67?
Oh, 6-ish. Or even 66.
Okay. All right.
For sure.
Before I was born, if that makes you feel any worse. Sorry. No, whatever.
Well,
don't worry about it.
It certainly helps. Yes, thanks.
Sorry.
It's okay.
Yeah. So, who was your first band? Tell us. What were you called? The something.
Oh, jeez. I'm trying to remember. We had one band called the Psych. Another band called the Transparent Banana.
Sure. Yeah. Yeah.
To name a few.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, that's cool. That's cool. So then what happens then? So now you're kind of playing bass. You're getting close to being pro.
Yeah, closer. And started to meet more people. These were the days when people put ads in the paper.
Sure.
That you're looking for, or
mm-hmm.
that type of thing. And through that, met people that became friends with to this day.
Sure. Yeah, me too.
It was John Puskus, and he was cool because he had a 1950 Chevy.
Oh wow!
And he was older than us, and he was very good at working on cars and restoring them.
Okay.
And he was a real good guy, and we all got along. And we were, going further along our way.
You could fit everything in that car, probably.
It wasn't the most efficient for that because amps was hard to maneuver.
Yeah, right.
They were too wide or they were too deep.
Sure.
But this all led to...
That's how I like my women, by the way. Too wide, too deep. That's just the way I like them. I don't know. That's terrible. I'll have to edit that out. Sorry.
Well, it's good to hear somebody, stand up.
Just thought I would share. I don't know.
Nice. So then, to fast forward a little bit, I'm in high school and met this guy named Ralph Rosen.
Okay.
Who was a year older than me. And he was trying to set up a jam.
Mm-hmm.
And he had a guitarist named John Weber and a keyboardist, singer. None of these guys I knew. I mean, John I knew because he went to Conard also. But Grayson I didn't know of at all because he went to Hall.
Okay.
And so...
These are schools in West Hartford.
Yeah.
Sounds like.
And,
okay.
And we... they were a year older than me. Grayson was 2 years older than me. And so we met in 1969, New Year's Day.
Oh, wow.
In Faye Tovian's rec room in West Hartford. Where,
wow,
a party.
Dawning of a new decade.
Oh, but even more than that.
You know what I mean? New Year's Eve, New Year's Day.
True.
Day one.
And they were into jazz. They were into blues. And I was new to all that.
Oh,
but
cool.
we played together, and they showed me some simple progression, and you did a walking bass on it. So we did that, and I was blown away.
Oh, really?
These are by far the best guys I ever played with, and I was really knocked out. And plus, not to mention, it's like you're playing with the older kids.
Sure.
And that, I felt good,
Yeah, right.
It was a terrific thing, and it was all happening. and they accepted me to play in their band that night.
Oh wow, that's cool.
You know, and a few months later, we did some originals of Grayson's.
Okay.
Which were really good.
This is Grayson Hugh?
Yeah.
Oh, cool. Wow.
And there was a lot of cool stuff in how he wrote, imagination, precision, more sophisticated harmonies, time signatures.
Oh, wow.
He was
getting
doing
into
all
it.
that. So this is beginning of 1969. We predated the Allman Brothers band.
Oh, wow.
They didn't get together till a few months later.
Oh, wow. That's funny.
And, of course, I'd never heard of them at that time.
Sure.
So it was an exciting time, and we went to Synchron, which became Trod-Nossel.
Yeah, in Wallingford, my hometown, by the way, Wallingford.
I did not know that.
There you go.
And we recorded a single.
Okay.
Grayson's dad, Ivor Hugh, paid for it.
Mm-hmm.
And which was really a tremendous thing that he did because of what we all gained from it. I'd never heard myself, play back.
Sure.
And it was a phenomenal experience.
Was it cool? Was it good, or did it send you back to the drawing board, or were you like, okay, I'm on the right track?
I felt I was in the right track.
Oh, good. That's cool.
It was good, and I felt that the band was in the right track too.
Far out.
I mean, we didn't do any minimal overdubs, no punch-ins.
Yeah, right.
So there might have been a burp here or there.
Yeah, right.
Which I know you can relate.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, there'll be a burp here and there during this. Yeah,
it happens.
Yeah. It does.
Yes.
It will.
So we were on our way, and I sold. The
45.
45s were printed, and I sold them around school.
Sure.
And that was terrific.
That's exciting.
It was a very exciting experience.
You're like, yo, check it out.
Yeah.
I'm on a record.
And then the next year, around the same time, or a little later than that, maybe about 15, 16 months later, when I was a senior, we went back to Synchron, and we recorded some more. This time we did, maybe 4 songs or so. And, we were better. We had gotten stronger, tighter, more confident.
Yep.
And it was a wonderful experience.
Cool. That's cool. But I would imagine Synchron probably did that for a lot of bands at that time, or else they broke up. They said, oh, man, we're terrible. And that was the end of that. Could have gone that way, too. I guess, right? At least you guys are like, oh, good.
We were on the positive side of it.
Yeah, that's cool. Yeah, that's pretty wild. Yeah. So now you're selling records at school.
Yep.
Playing out more, starting to play out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No big money.
Right.
But nonetheless, I think the deal is that if you can continue to exist, you're successful.
Sure.
As long as you keep playing.
Yeah.
So
I mean,
we did.
Yeah, some level or another, yes. I'm technically existing. We're technically existing. One way or the other.
We're not sinking.
Win, you know what I mean? It's a big W, a big win right there.
Right.
Awesome. Cool. So then I would imagine as the decade goes on, you're probably starting to more different people, different things, starting to get out into the bar scene, right?
Yeah.
I would imagine.
Oh, we weren't ready for the bar scene yet.
Oh, really?
Too young.
Oh.
But that didn't matter. We did work with this agency, and again, I was meeting more people, more people, and Conard was a big school.
Okay.
So there were a lot of people to meet.
Yep.
And there was this a friend named Bob Mokarski.
Okay.
And he had a brother and 2 sisters. He was the oldest.
Mm-hmm.
He was a year older than me. And their house was like ground zero.
Yeah, right. Like
It was
the party
right,
house.
It was right, sort of. It was a place where people, played hooky and went there.
Cool.
Because it was so close to the high school.
Oh.
So it was like terrific.
Right.
And his parents were teachers.
Oh,
They
wow.
were music teachers.
So they were at school. So you knew they weren't home.
No, they weren't at school.
Oh.
They were both music teachers,
Uh-huh.
and they. Losing my train of thought here.
Well, I'm saying they were teaching at school, so you knew you could play hooky because you knew where the parents were.
Yeah.
They were like, they're at school.
Yeah.
Piano, we can go home.
And they had a piano in every room in the house.
Oh, wow.
They had a piano in the kitchen.
Wow.
They had a big organ in the console organ.
Oh, wow.
You don't hear that term used. And the place was just loaded with pianos. They had a Steinway Grand, in the basement.
Wow.
It's like, not too shabby.
Yeah, right.
And it was a beautiful piano, and it sounded great.
Huh. It's kind of wild. Yeah, so you're hanging out at the house, so all kinds of people coming in and out.
I met some of those guys, right?
Yeah.
And there were jams that went on, planned or unplanned.
Yeah, yeah.
And wonderful time. We were all learning and going out and seeing music.
Mm-hmm.
Starting to get old enough to go to the Newport Jazz Festival.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
Festivals.
Sure.
And go to concerts at UConn.
Mm-hmm.
I saw Ornette Coleman there.
Wow.
And a number of people,
Yep. So you're starting to get
in
into
that high realm.
Yeah.
Of great, great music.
Sure. You're starting to get into jazz a little bit more at this point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And one thing that really blew me away was hearing about Tony Williams' Lifetime.
Okay.
Who I ended up, before anything could happen, I saw them on the Tonight Show, and Flip Wilson was filling in.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
And he had them on. And it was just a trio at that time.
Uh-huh.
Tony, John, and Larry Young. And later on, they added Jack Bruce.
Okay.
And I saw that group a few months later.
Oh, wow.
In Portchester, New York.
Oh, cool.
And that was probably the loudest music I ever heard anywhere up to that time. And I'd seen Hendrix, and they were maybe a little edgier than Hendrix and a little louder than Hendrix.
Wow.
Which is saying a lot.
Yeah. That's
and
what I'm
think
thinking.
I have the ears to prove it.
Yeah, right. Wow.
Terrible.
Wow.
Two hearing aids aren't enough.
Yeah, right. Well,
I'm going to try 3.
yeah, why not? Why not? Something's bound to work eventually.
So I was getting all this, good stuff to listen to, focus on, obsess on, and keep trying on.
Yeah, why not?
It was a fantastic time.
Yeah, sounds pretty wild. That must be wild.
Oh yeah.
Can't see Hendrix.
Oh yeah, that was crazy.
Where was that?
Bushnell.
Wow, imagine that.
Who would think?
Yeah, right in Hartford. Yeah, crazy.
What are they doing in such a dignified place like this?
Yeah, right.
And obviously, management and all that and staff at the Bushnell were not. They were not ready.
Right. They were not
for
prepared.
the Jimi Hendrix experience.
Oh, boy.
And Hendrix wasn't really ready for them either.
Oh, really?
He was cool.
Yeah.
But I think he was probably glad when it was over.
Oh, really?
I think so.
Why, it was just too stiff, or just kind of like, what are we doing in this joint?
A little bit. I think a little bit of both.
Yeah.
I mean, that's my guess. But as far as how he performed and all that, he was absolutely amazing.
Yeah, I can imagine.
Beautiful.
Yeah, it's crazy.
How much he controlled, the sound of his guitar from just his touch.
Mm.
He was well under his control.
Yeah, right. Yeah, no.
And he got the most beautiful sound out of it too.
Mm. Yeah, very much pre-pedal board.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
He didn't have a lot
It's
of pedals.
Pedal board right here. This
Yeah,
is pedal board. You know.
Yep, that's the determining factor.
The good old days. Yeah,
It's in the fingers.
Yeah, that's what they say. That's what they say for sure. All right. So then, where do you want to take us to? When does it really start popping for you?
Well, I joined another band with some of those people from, Conard,
Sure,
or that dropped in, and we had a more wild and crazy band. It was bigger. We had 2 bass players.
Oh wow!
And we both doubled on guitar.
Oh,
We could do that. So sometimes we tried all sorts of things, like me playing in the high range and Bernie Cornwick's playing in the low range.
Yeah.
It was very, we experimented a lot. We had a great drummer who was a student at Hart. We had a sax player who could play 2 saxes at the same time, named Paul Midney. We had a trumpet player named Ray Mace who founded the American Brass Quintet. And he, at the age of 21, was a frequent sub for the Boston Symphony.
Oh, wow.
So, these were some guys some, with some serious chops and pedigree.
Yep.
And they could write. So we had some very good times, but we did a showcase in New York at the I'm trying to remember if it was the Village Gate,
sure,
or the top of the gate.
Yeah,
might have been the top of the gate, and it didn't work out, and the band kind of broke up.
Oh boy!
We after our showcase.
Oh boy!
We were very, very disappointed that nothing happened for it, because we felt we felt we were ready.
Yeah, you were like, this is going to be it. We're going to be the new Chicago or something.
Actually, I didn't think we were going to be the new Chicago. I thought we were going to be us.
Right.
That was the thing.
I got you.
Yeah, because we weren't trying to copy anybody. We were trying to trying to be somebody.
The world wasn't ready, I guess.
Not the part of the world that showed up for this showcase. So that was that.
Is the world ready now? Who knows?
Parts of it.
Parts of it.
Parts of it.
Oh well. Yeah. Well. Yeah. Well, you know what I always say when I think about stuff like this, I go, if we had made it, whatever that means, like if you had gotten what you hoped to get that day, the record deal, and launch your career, it would have probably been over by now, and we would be right where we are, right here, right now. That's the way I look at it, and I'm like, I'm fine with that. I mean, I don't know. How much money would we have made? Enough to never leave the house? Probably.
How much money would we have spent?
Wow. That's true, too.
There's another thing.
That's what I'm saying. Like, when you think about oh, man, I could have been, and you just go, well, it would have been over, once we reach it. Because, I am younger than you, but I have reached a certain age where I realize, well, it would have been over by now. Let me just have a life. I just have a life now. Anyway, whatever. That's what happens, I guess, right?
Right.
Something like that.
So I dropped out of the whole thing for a while.
Oh, wow.
For a few years.
Of music entirely.
Wow. And I came back. I went to college. I came for a degree in music that I didn't really want by the time I had it.
Oh, boy. Which was what?
And I went, this is 77.
Okay.
I graduated in spring of 76.
Okay.
So I decided to go back into music because things happened that were very influential, that were magical. I met, people that I knew who I bumped into. One good friend of mine who I hadn't seen in a long time, he asked me if I would join his band. I didn't even have a bass, but so since I didn't have a bass, I said sure.
Yeah, right.
So I went to LaSalle Music and I bought a bass and I bought an amp.
Wow. What'd you buy?
I bought a jazz bass at a music store in New Haven.
Okay.
Guitars Unlimited.
Okay, yeah, I don't remember.
Which was a very cool store at that time. And I bought an amp at LaSalle. And this was important to me. There was this guy, the salesman who sold me the bass. So he sold me the 76 jazz bass. And it was kind of beat up, but the price was right. And he says, do you want to trade necks off of my bass? He says, I got this precision bass, and it has a fretless neck on it. Would you be interested in swapping? Now, I had never played a fretless bass in my entire life.
Wow.
I had never seen one close up.
Yeah, right.
So my answer to him was, that sounds like a great idea.
Wow.
Yeah, let's do it.
Huh.
So he did, and I ended up really liking it a lot.
So a J bass body, fretless,
yes,
P bass neck.
Yes.
Wow.
And Jocko was the rage at this time, so it seemed like a terrific idea.
Right.
And it was a terrific idea. But it was the only bass I had, so it's like I was putting all my eggs in one basket. It's like I got to make this work.
Yeah. After not playing bass for a couple of years.
That about 3.
Wow.
So that too. And pardon. So it was an exciting time.
You just jumped back
and I started
into
getting it back together.
Yeah, it's kind of wild.
And then I bumped into Grayson again, and he wanted to do an album's worth of music.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, yeah, great.
Yep.
And by this time, my chops were getting into good shape again, and we did some more of his music, which by this time was like really great guns.
Yeah.
His music was terrific. It was more sophisticated and engaging than ever.
Wow.
As far as I was concerned, it was the place to be.
Hey, that's cool.
For me,
Yeah.
Because I thought it was just wonderful.
So now you're back in it.
Yeah, so I was back in it. I had at this time also gotten turned on to, and in the first band that brought me back, I got turned on to Pat Martino.
Okay.
Who was I think 3 times Grammy nominated jazz guitarist.
Okay.
I don't think he ever won. As far as I know, I'd like to say that he did win Grammys, but I don't know. But he did win.
Look it up.
He did win downbeat jazz polls.
So he's heavy duty.
He was heavy duty, hardcore, no messing around.
Yeah, right.
And so Bobby played me, some stuff that he had done, and I just practically melted off of my chair.
Yeah, you were like, this is my thing.
I was like, oh my God.
Wow.
It was crazy. And I still react to that stuff. I listened to some of him on the way over here.
Oh, really?
So
okay.
I actually
so this is your thing.
Ended up taking a couple lessons from him, which were in Philly.
Okay.
Which was a couple of phenomenal experiences. One reason, because it was like 2 different guys. And the reason for that is because he had an aneurysm, a brain aneurysm.
Yikes.
During the time of my first lesson.
Oh, boy.
And the aneurysm was operated on.
Okay.
After my first lesson and before my second.
Oh, wow.
So the second one, he had lost his memory. He didn't know his parents. He didn't know he played the guitar. It was really a wicked case of amnesia.
Yikes.
But by the time I saw him again. I heard he was teaching. He was much better, but he had a long way to go.
Okay.
But he did have some, a sense of self for sure. And I'm really glad I made it.
Wow.
That lesson. And he's not doing well now.
Oh, he's not. He's still alive.
He's having lung problems.
Yikes.
Because of some kind of, infection. It wasn't. I don't think it was COVID, but the timing isn't quite right for that. But
yeah,
right.
But
it certainly sounds like it was.
Is he's older?
Pat is probably about 77 now.
Okay.
Or is going to be 77.
Yeah.
In August.
Okay.
But he is one of the biggest influences of music that I ever had.
Wow, that's wild.
Oh yeah,
that's pretty cool. Who else?
John McLaughlin.
Okay.
Jack Bruce.
Yep.
From Cream, who I got to know.
Oh, nice.
I knew him for the last 30 years of his life.
Oh wow, how'd that happen?
Oh, that's a good one. I was a friend of mine named Steve Kubica. He picked up in New York City the bass that Jack favored in Cream.
What, the
EB3?
Okay. Yep.
It's cherry red, and
one pickup.
2 pickups.
Oh, okay. All right, I'll stop.
Yep, that's okay.
Yep.
No, Steve sold it to me. He wanted to raise money for to build a PA system for his band.
Okay.
So he sold it to me for what he paid for it, which wasn't that much. And I got a gig with Ellen McElwain.
Okay.
Who, unfortunately, just passed away a few weeks ago.
Oh, wow.
Ellen was an incredibly gifted vocalist, slide guitarist.
Okay. Yeah.
She wrote.
Yep.
She was an amazing blues person.
Yep.
There's really nobody like her.
Okay.
She was absolutely killer. So she was friends with Pete Brown.
Okay.
Jack's, co-conspirator.
Right.
So
sure. I remember seeing that name on the Cream records.
The lyrics.
Yep.
Yep. And my wife at that time and I, honeymoon was in London, and I got a hold of Pete Brown on the phone. I just called him up.
Wow.
I know the look in Shepherd's Bush.
Sure.
And in the phone book, and how many, in the London phone book, how many Pete Browns could there be?
Probably a few, I would guess.
a few hundred.
Yeah.
No, I don't know. But anyway, but for all the more that fortunate that I did find it. Mm-hmm. And I called him up, and he sounded a little bit reserved at first, but then I told him that I was playing with Ellen. And that changed to, well, I'd love to meet you. Can you come over today?
Wow.
And I'm like,
perfect. Thought you'd never ask.
I think we we can manage that. So we went over for tea and had a great time. He was a really fantastic guy. Is a really fantastic guy. And that was an incredible, experience. And he gave me Jack's phone number.
Oh boy.
So I called him up. And again, Jack had just done an album playing for Ellen McElwain.
Oh wow, okay.
So
so you're
the
in
timing,
yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah.
The timing of all this was amazing, and he was extremely nice. And I told him about the bass, and he says, "Well, I have these 3 empty cases here."
Oh boy.
And I guess I kind of somehow asked him what he meant exactly.
Yeah, right.
And he said an ex-Cream disgruntled roadie stole them.
Oh boy.
So he's telling me that I am holding a stolen bass guitar.
Oh, whoops.
But he didn't. He didn't make me feel weird about it or uncomfortable or obliged.
Right, because you didn't steal it. By then,
Of course not.
it had been around. Yeah, I got
Yeah.
you. Whoa.
So here, this is interesting, if we're into solving mysteries, because here's this bass that gets stolen
Sure.
in London.
Yep.
And ends up in New York City.
Mm-hmm.
And nobody knows how it got there.
Right.
But it did get there, and it was in some beat-up case tied together with rope.
Sure.
That had a sticker for a musical instrument rental company in London.
Okay.
So, so there's some missing pieces to the puzzle, but it doesn't matter. We kind of have enough to go on.
It ends up back in London.
Yeah.
Because of you.
It didn't go to London. It didn't come to London with me.
Oh, okay.
It was at home.
But the connection's made at this point.
But the connection's made, and he didn't make me feel obliged to do anything or say anything. He was, he was just totally cool, and he had really moved on to other things anyway.
Sure. Right.
So it wasn't really his favorite thing, even though he didn't know that at the time.
Yeah, right.
But I did give it to him, and he promised me he would give me an instrument in return.
So you gave it up. You were just like, I want you to have this back. That's the right thing.
I said I will. I had flying benefits from American Airlines, so I said to him, I will fly anywhere in the world with this instrument to bring it to you, and you tell me if it's yours or not. And if it's yours, I'll give it to you.
Sure.
And he, he really liked that. He appreciated it. And I said, he said, well, I wouldn't just take money out of your pocket. I have some nice basses here, and maybe you'd like one of those.
Wow.
And I said, well, that sounds great. And I immediately asked him, can I have the psychedelic painted one by The Fool? These Dutch artists,
sure. Yep.
Who had done Eric's guitar as well.
Yep, and the Beatles too.
And he said, and the Beatles too. And he says, well, that one is already gone.
Oh boy.
But we finally agreed 6.5 years later on a Warwick.
Okay.
Which was a very low serial number.
Okay.
And a fantastic sound, beautiful to look at, played like a dream, and I still have it.
Oh, wow. So you're like, it's a deal.
I still have it some 30 years later.
Wow.
More than 30 years later.
That's cool.
Yeah.
So you ended up with the Warwick. And
yeah.
He got his bass back.
Right.
Put it back in the case.
But then he didn't keep it.
Uh-oh.
He traded it for a Chapman stick.
Oh boy.
But at the same time, I'm glad I didn't try to put any conditions on it, because that wouldn't be right.
Right.
And I think it would have damaged the conversation too.
Yeah, right.
And I wasn't going to misrepresent myself or
sure.
Make him uncomfortable.
Sure.
After all the things, it's his. He can do whatever
right,
he
right.
wants
Yeah,
with it.
you don't care. Yeah, that's cool. That's pretty wild. That's a wild story.
So I've still got it.
Wow.
And he traded the bass to one of his drummers.
Okay.
Bruce Gary.
Oh wow.
Who played with the Knack.
That's right.
My Sharona.
Oh, one of my favorite drummers. Nobody knows. Bruce Gary. I was about 12 when that first Knack album came out.
Oh yeah.
Still one of my favorite drum performance albums of all time. Bruce Gary.
Yeah, he was a wonderful drummer, and I saw him play with Jack a few times, and he was something. Unfortunately, he is no longer with us.
Yes, that's true.
Which is
a
terrible shame.
Yeah, I knew that he played with Jack Bruce. It's funny that you said that. Now it all makes sense. Yeah, great drummer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was killer.
Yeah. Unbelievable.
And we took him out for we took the both of them out for Chinese food.
Oh, really?
We went to Bijan Garden in Farmington.
Oh, wow. Hey, Bruce Gary was here. Oh, that's cool.
That's it.
Wow, that's wild.
Had a super time.
Wow.
We spent much of the dinner telling stories about Ginger Baker.
Oh boy. Sure, I bet. Yeah.
And his mishaps with heroin during concerts.
Sure. Yeah. Well.
Throwing up in pianos and things like that.
Man.
Yikes. Not to mention.
Yeah. I mean, I've thrown up on pianos, just not into them. But I don't know. It's a different story.
Yes.
Yeah.
Different story for you and the piano.
Oof. Yeah, right. Wow. So bring us to Jaimoe.
Oh. Well, there was this showcase that we were going to do with some friends. We were going to go to New York City, go to SIR Studios, and we were going to play for Dr. Was it George Butler? A&R person.
Okay. Yeah, could be.
And probably much more than that. And there was this loft that we used to practice in. And I was going to practice there it was on a Sunday. We were going to get together. And I saw my friend Catherine Fellows. And she was with this a black gentleman who I'd never seen before. And she introduced him to me as, that was Jaimoe.
Oh, cool.
And I knew who he was,
sure.
But I hadn't seen, any pictures of him recently.
Right.
So, but I liked him, right away. And Catherine took me aside and she says, Dave, if you want to play with Jaimoe tonight, get yourself to Rosie O'Grady's.
Oh, boy.
And it's an open mic.
Nice.
So I said, well, I'll be there. That's great.
Yeah.
So we went there, and there was this guy playing bass for the open mic he was not a bass player.
Okay.
He was a guitar player. So he didn't really know how to play blues bass, no offense to anybody.
Sure.
It wasn't his instrument.
Right.
He was just, trying to help out. So I was sitting next to Jaimoe, and Jaimoe leans over to me and he says, if that cat could play 3 notes, I'd let him play 300. And I was like, I like this guy.
Wow.
This is cool.
Yeah, that's kind of heavy.
I could learn something from this man.
Yeah.
And we did play together. And it was the most phenomenal experience. I had never played with a drummer with that type of a background before, and all those influences rolled into one.
Yeah, right.
And I was absolutely blown away.
Mm.
And he really enjoyed it too. So, and he asked me if I would give him bass lessons.
Wow.
So I said, yeah,
sure.
So we did a few of those. He said that the reason he wanted to do it was because he wanted to understand all the layers of the music.
Sure.
And it sounds like, great idea.
Yeah.
You can play your instrument better if you know what everybody else is doing,
definitely.
and why and what they're leaving for you to play or not play.
Mm-hmm.
So he also had asked Chris Jensen to give him saxophone lessons.
Wow. So he wanted to know.
Which he did.
So he wanted to know everything.
Yeah, exactly. So now in the weeks and months that followed, so we did some lessons, and I'd go to Stop and Shop on Farmington Avenue, and he was there, coincidentally. So we were telling stories and just shooting the breeze, talking, getting to know each other. And, so 40 minutes later,
yeah, right.
Us 2 guys are walking around the store. Our carts are still empty.
Right.
Not a lot of shopping going on, but we were having a great time.
Yeah, that's cool. How did he end up in Connecticut?
The Allman Brothers played in Groton.
Okay.
A concert. They were just back together after years of being split.
Mm-hmm.
So they had done an album called Seven Turns, which was a really, really great album. And so eventually we he wanted to put a band together.
Wow.
And we tried a number of different combinations. I know that he had also played with a number of other bass players. He played with Drew Glocken. He played with Harvey Brooks.
Okay.
Harvey came to Hartford
Yeah.
to play. They played at Lewis Street. I was sick as a dog, so I couldn't go. But I would have loved to have heard that. So we had a number of incarnations of a band, and finally in 2000. I don't know, more of the early 2000s, he put something together that became a lot more permanent. We had a meeting in Johnny Fidel's office in New York, and we were launched.
Yeah. Like, here we go.
Yeah, and kept it together for a pretty long time. The band probably began somewhere around, I can't even remember, maybe 2007.
Okay.
Something like that.
You guys are going to get back at it now?
Well, he's got some shoulder problems.
Oh.
That are, not that I want to get into all that, but you have to see what happens.
Yeah. Huh. It's exciting.
But right now, there's nothing on anybody's schedule.
Yikes. Well, see what happens, I guess. We're all just kind of waiting to see what happens.
Exactly.
Yeah. Talk about your teaching a little bit, and then we're going to get on out of here.
Okay.
You started here, Dave said, at Connecticut Valley. Or not started, but you were one of the first teachers here, Dave says.
Yeah.
Imagine that.
And I was here for 10 years.
Wow.
So I think that means that
here comes Dave.
Here comes Dave.
He's gonna tell us. I don't know if you can see him, but Dave Kuzminski is here off camera. He's gonna set us straight right now.
I don't need
he can figure out how to put the headphones on.
I don't need you to tell my future, but can you tell me my past?
Yeah.
Can you help me out with that?
Sure. Well, you and I have a lot of history back at the conservatory.
Oh my God! Yeah, back to the beginning of time.
Yeah, both of you and I were at the conservatory.
Yep.
As far as that goes, and I ended up teaching there. You ended up, playing a lot of my ensembles. I played in a lot of your ensembles, as far as that goes. And then when Ron and I bought this place, a lot of the teachers that I did have, were from the conservatory. So,
Sure.
So
he's on the list.
He's on the list.
Yo.
As far as that goes. So he became. Part of our faculty.
Cool.
I inherited a seat.
Yes, you did. Yes, you did.
That's cool.
And the type of thing that a lot of the teachers that I did have here, were from that conservatory connection. As far as that goes,
right? Yep.
And it was ironic that you put me in touch with Jaimoe. Okay.
Yep.
Do you remember that first interaction that we had
for the Army?
What? No. It was before that. As you know, I'm heavily involved in the water industry, but I had some international guests that came to the Hartford IPI, which is the International Studies Program, and I was good friends with the director up there, and he said he had two gentlemen, that one was from Bangladesh and one was from Botswana, and he wanted me to give a tour of our water department here, which I did anyway. And lo and behold, the gentleman that was from Botswana, was a BBC recording artist. And we ended up jamming. He was here for like 6 months with the IPI program. And it was the type of thing we started jamming.
Wow.
And so I had this brilliant idea. Why don't we do an international concert? So we were there. So anyway, I recruited Dave, to play bass. And it was over at the Portland Library, and I says, geez, and I knew, and he had known Jaimoe, and I says, geez, do you think Jaimoe might want to come down and jam with us? And he says, I don't know. Let's ask him.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
So, best way to find out.
Yeah.
And lo and behold, he did.
Wow.
And Jaimoe came down, and of course, Catherine came down with him as far as that goes. But they had 3 bus loads from the IPI program. Okay, that they bussed down. Okay, Jaimoe sat in, played drums. You played bass. I played guitar, and Talo from Botswana. He played guitar, but he used the guitar more as a percussive, and he only had 4 strings on it.
Okay.
And it was really...
Hey, I can relate to that.
Yeah.
Yeah, right.
So, and it was great. We did the concert. I have a recording of it and so forth. And that was when my son, actually, who was, I think, about 7 years old at the time, okay, Jaimoe had him sit in on the drums. He was just... And
yes.
So it all starts.
And so forth. So... That really came across as my first experience with Jaimoe, and then the second experience was when my son was coming home from Iraq. We did a veterans concert to defray the costs of a veterans monument they were building here in Portland, and so we put this band together, and in fact, you played.
I did.
You played.
Yep.
Nancy played, Nancy Souza, okay,
yes.
Negrelli, okay. She has left us, but I called Jaimoe, and I left a message on his phone, and I didn't hear back from him. I says, well, okay, that was it. And anyway,
nothing unusual there.
Yeah. So anyway, it was this about a month after and so forth. I get this call about 11:30 at night.
Uh-oh.
And so I answer, hello, Dave.
Oh, God.
It's Jaimoe. How the hell are you? And it was great. I says, hey, Jaimoe, how you doing? Sorry, man, I just got your message. I says, well, okay, that's great, So he says, I says, well, I've been on tour. So he was abroad, I guess. So the time zone. So I told him, so what's going on? So he says, I told him my son was coming home from, and we're doing this benefit concert, and I wondered if you'd want to pay. So Jaimoe he says, how much did gig pay?
Ah.
And I says, well,
reasonable question.
Yeah, no, I says, whatever you want, Jaimoe. He says, I told him the thing. He says, can I get a cheeseburger out of it? And I says, yeah, Jaimoe, anything you want.
Sure.
So we did the concert, and there was a whole host of people that played. Jeff Pitchell played, and so forth, and our sax player Jerry Tadero on keys, and he played. My God, it was a great concert. But
cool.
That was my interaction. But he's been such a good friend. I've had him a few times at the Portland Fair. Jaimoe and Friends. Unfortunately, you couldn't make the gig on that one, but he came down, and it was great. It was really super
cool.
But that was our interaction, actually going back to the Hartford Conservatory days.
Wow,
yes, a lot of good times.
A lot of things happen.
Yeah, for sure. So
cool.
Anyway, but that's
there he goes.
And then you were, obviously you were on the road with Dicky.
Yep.
And so
Dave,
forth.
sit here. Why don't you sit here and talk?
Wait a minute.
Interview him, because they're just going to see me reacting to you. Why don't you have a seat, and then we'll, you know what I mean? You just take this chair for the. Hold on. All right. They're just going to see me going, really?
Is the red dot on?
It's on.
The red dot is on. Can you see me there?
That's you.
Okay.
Oh, okay, good. All right, good.
There we go.
Yes,
okay.
Sir.
Perfect.
So anyway, that's how we got together, as from there, and it was really, really good. We go back a long time. I really have.
Far out.
And so forth. But, playing wise, I think, and it's amazing, John, the number of guests that we've had on here, the dots have connected, in one way, shape, or form.
Oh, yeah.
Dave Lavosi, all those guys.
Get him up.
Dave Santoro from the Conservatory.
Yeah.
You remember Dave, as far as that goes. So, but that's been kind of what we.
Figure putting it all together.
Yeah, and a lot of good times. But
cool.
that's part of the history. That we
Yeah.
go back. So
Yeah, we're trying to figure it all out.
Yeah,
With
exactly.
the podcast, that's what we're doing.
But I think with Dave and connection with Jaimoe and tell them about Dicky and so forth. How you got hooked up with Dicky?
Oh yeah, well, they needed a bass player and they needed a guitarist. The Allman Brothers band.
Yep.
And I checked my messages one day from Ricardo's music.
Ah, yes.
And, Jaimoe in his messages usually sounds pretty laid back and, kind of takes it easy. But in this message he left, he sounded, uncharacteristically serious and maybe a teeny bit worked up. It was important, whatever it was.
Mm-hmm.
So he said, Dicky wants you to go to Florida and play with him. And he told me the name of the hotel he was at, all that kind of stuff, and gave me the phone number and what name to ask for.
Yep.
Because he didn't use the name Dicky Betts.
Ah, okay.
So I called Jaimoe back, and he basically told me the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
And I called the hotel, and I asked for the name I was supposed to ask for, and they connected me with Dicky's room.
Ah.
And Donna answered the phone, and Dicky came to the phone, and he was, both very nice. And I said, he said to me, he said, I'd like to know if you come down to Florida and play with me sometime soon. And I said, anytime you want, sure, be glad to. And then we started talking some more, and he finally got to a point where he said about playing in his band. Now, I knew that Dicky had had a number of his own projects over the years.
Sure.
And I thought, maybe that's what this is. And I said, what band is this for? And he said, the Allman Brothers band. And I was like, oh boy, incredible. And he says, I like the way you play that fretless bass. And I said, oh, great. So I was supposed to call him the next day.
Mm-hmm.
And I can't remember why. It had something to do probably with making the trip to his house.
Yeah, he lived in Florida.
He lived in Florida, right, in Sarasota. And I felt a great sense of rapport over the phone. He was nice as he could be. And I thought, this is a real changer, game changer.
Yeah, I remember when that first came about. And in fact, you did a couple gigs with us, my band. And you said, geez, I got an audition to go to. And he says, you tell me, well, it's somebody big, he says. Then that's what you told me.
I was sworn
right, I know.
not to tell anybody.
I know.
So I tried very hard to do that. And it was funny because there were some people that knew, and I don't know how they knew, but they just did. And I don't know.
There you go.
It was interesting trying to keep all that under my hat.
Exactly.
It was a challenge, and people would tell me, it's like, what's with the halo over your head? And that's what it felt like. It was incredible.
And you toured with Dicky's and his
Great Southern.
Great Southern. Okay, but the actual gig with the Allman Brothers didn't quite turn out to the point.
I came in second.
You came in second. Okay, to O'Teal.
Yeah.
So but you got to play with Dicky. That was
one of my objectives in the first place. that I wanted to play with Dicky. And a lot of times when you do these auditions and things like that, you end up with nothing at all. But that wasn't so in this case. I did get something that was of great value to me.
Sure.
And fulfilled a big dream because I was, long a fan of Dicky.
Sure. Well, I'm sure the connection with Jaimoe helped too, as far as that goes.
Of course it did.
Yeah.
Yes. It was amazing how all of it came together. You know?
I can remember.
Yeah, I met Tom Dowd at the audition.
Yeah.
Oh.
And I knew who he was on site, and he introduced himself. He said, "I'm Tom Dowd." He extended his hand. I said, "Yes, I know." And I was blown away. And then he sat during the audition. He sat behind my amplifier.
Really?
So
okay.
it's like,
That's nerve-wracking.
I don't feel any stress from that whatsoever.
No. Oh, wow. Unbelievable.
But Tom was he was a great guy, too. In addition to being unbelievably accomplished on many fronts.
Yeah. Well, I think, Dave, I give you credit, man. I think you've been doing this a long time, and we both have. And unfortunately, that I never made it to the level that you did, but I'm happy to know you.
Well, you made a level, like as I look around this place.
Hey, we made it to above the garage. What are you talking about? This is awesome. This is awesome.
Very well put.
Where else do you want to be? This is it.
Exactly. Unbelievable. But yeah, no, it's I've known you a long time, Dave, and I appreciate again your friendship and for many years doing gigs with you, and it's just been a lot of fun. It really has.
Oh, back at you, Dave.
So anyway,
it's been a privilege.
Okay, now John's going to ask you a question.
I'm going to ask a couple of stupid questions.
2 questions here. Now this is really going to put you on the spot.
I wasn't there, and you can't prove it.
Actually, 3 questions. Actually, 3. One is important. The other 2 are trivial, but they're important to me. Are you ready?
I guess so.
Are you a consistent practicer of your instrument?
Yes.
Oh yeah.
What are you practicing currently? Anything you would like to share with us? I always think this is interesting.
I am practicing music for a new album that's in the beginning stages.
Okay.
And I'm playing guitar on it and bass.
Oh, wow.
And some of the, it's funny. I don't know what I'm going to be in the band when it forms, whether I'm going to be the guitarist or be the bass player. But I think I'm leaning towards being the guitarist for this simple reason. Here's a tough choice to make. Would it be more miserable to teach somebody else these guitar parts, or would it be more miserable to have to perfect them myself? So that's a really tough call.
Right.
So the idea of teaching them to somebody else, and probably somebody else after that, and somebody else after that, and somebody else after that.
Yeah, right. You might as well just
that,
do it
that
yourself.
That might be just a little too much.
Just do it yourself.
Bass player, one note at a time.
Yep. Usually.
Take it easy.
Usually. I've heard you play more than one note at a time on occasion.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Well, that's the difference between on occasion and like constantly.
Right. Well, whatever. Yeah, that's cool. Wow. All right. Okay. A practicer. That's good. Because it goes either way. That's why I ask. I'm always curious.
It's more likely you'll find me with a guitar in my hands than be without a guitar in my hands.
Okay. All right.
That's how strongly I feel about it.
Far out. Okay. Stupid. Well, actually, not that stupid. I should stop saying that. Do you have a desert island album? If you could sum up your what you think all of life in one album, could such a
you
thing
mean
be
my
possible?
life or life in general?
Or whatever, if you could pick one album that says everything that you'd like to say.
Oh, that would be More Dangerous Canoes.
Oh, I remember that.
I think I have a copy downstairs.
Oh, I would hope so.
Yeah,
Yes,
I remember
absolutely.
If you don't, I'll make sure you do.
I think I do.
that. That's your record.
Yes.
Wow. More dangerous canoes. What does that mean?
Well, I was going to Boston to play, and I was just entering the city limits, and there was a sign that says dangerous cargoes must exit here.
Oh, sure.
Because of the low overhang.
Yep.
On one of those early exits.
Sure.
So it looked like it said cargoes. It looked like it said canoes. So I thought, like, oh, that sounds great. I said, here's what I'm going to do. I promised myself I'm not going to tell anybody this title, and I will figure out someday in my own time.
Yeah.
What I will apply it to, what
Sure.
I'll use it for.
Yep.
So this was years before I ever did, any did a solo recording project. So when I was ready to do it, I chose to call it Dangerous Canoes. And I called on my artist friend and vocalist extraordinaire, June Besantz. I asked her to come up with something that would help the average Joe understand
How dangerous canoes could be.
Dangerous canoes are.
Yeah.
And she came up with something from a Girl Scouts rowing handbook on canoeing, and that was the background of the cover.
Yeah, right.
And it made for a really great cover. Plus, there was a guy like out of the 50s, with a cartoon.
Sure.
Not of a cartoon character, but of a real person,
sure.
a man. And he's got a cigarette, as everybody did in the 50s,
Sure.
up to his lips. And he's got a couple of arrows that are coming towards his back. So that would be, I guess, a pretty good...
Whoa. Right?
It would help people understand what a dangerous canoe is. When
Sure.
You're about to get punctured.
Canoed.
Several times over.
Yeah, you're about to get canoed.
And then later on, for when it came time for a second album, it was obvious that I was going to call it More Dangerous Canoes.
Of course. Yeah, that's obvious.
More Dangerous Canoes. And I asked...
Is there a most dangerous canoes coming?
Maybe.
A trilogy.
A trilogy.
So
the second one, I asked my artist friend, Susie Langlois, who's an incredible talent. I said, could you make for me a cover that'll help, the average guy understand what a more dangerous canoe is? And within a week, she had done this beautiful painting, gorgeous, and of this like an island, and there's this big volcano, and there's all these beautiful little boats in alongside it.
Sure.
And there's fires, lava,
Sure.
smoke, everything is coming out of the volcano and coming down and lighting the canoes on fire.
Right.
So that would be a more dangerous canoe.
Yeah, definitely. I would think so.
So that's it.
Yeah, got it. That's cool.
There's
All
no
right.
song entitled that, but maybe someday.
Maybe.
We'll see.
Wow, more dangerous
If we're
canoes.
lucky.
Yeah. All right. And here's the wacky question.
Oh, good.
What food could you eat every day that you'd be like, I'm fine if this were the only thing I could eat?
Sushi.
Oh, okay. That's cool.
Yeah, I think
That's a good one. That's a good one.
Well, I'm not a vegan. I'm a pescatarian.
Sure.
And in that realm,
Yep.
you really can't miss.
Yeah, that's what they say. It's not my thing, but my wife's into, I can imagine, a lot of people like sushi, so must be something to it.
I can remember doing weddings with Dave, okay, and when they would feed the band, and Dave would always say, "Do you have fish?"
You have fish.
That's right.
Yeah.
The band would be eating
Too many times they said no.
Yeah, I know. Well, give me the pasta, is that thing. But, hear the band chowing.
Pasta's okay. It's one of nature's perfect foods.
There you go.
Gotcha.
The rest of the band be eating prime rib, and Dave's, either eating pasta or a fish, But I can remember that, yeah.
Well, that's all right. You're better off.
That's
I think
healthy. Sure.
Yeah, definitely.
Exactly. Fantastic.
All right, cool. I mean, you have anything else you want to add? You want to wrap it up? Ish, we're going kind of long.
To wrap it up, I don't know what I will say until, we're in our cars and
Right.
home.
It's always the way.
It's always the way.
Yeah.
Other than to say, I will say this, this has been a real fun evening.
Oh, yeah.
And really fantastic, and I appreciate both of you for it.
Oh, yeah, of course. And like I always say to everybody, when you listen to this, you'll be like, why didn't I say X, Y, Z? Just come again.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yep.
We'll do this until...
It's been a few years since you've been down here, Dave, so we have to make that a little bit more frequent.
Yeah.
Well, okay.
Yeah, you know what I mean?
I think we solved that one.
Yeah.
It's funny. Dave calls me on the phone and Dave, it's Dave.
Oh, boy.
The other Dave.
Yeah, the other Dave. Dave, it's not you yourself
That's
calling
not in your life, that's not very specific.
Yeah, I know. And so
You already got
a couple of days.
another one of your own.
yes, exactly. You can go from there. But yeah, super.
Far out.
Awesome. Well, David, thank you so much for coming down and being part of the John Peckman podcast.
Oh,
We'll
it's
get
a great
this-
place to be.
We'll get this,
Absolutely.
we'll get this post processed and we'll get it up and I'll send you the link, man. And go
Great.
from there. So
Yeah, Dave Stoltz, ladies and gentlemen. He was here.
Thank you.
Let the record show.
there you go.
John Peckman Podcast, Connecticut Valley School of Music and Dance, Portland, Connecticut. Over the bridge, start looking left. You know what I mean? Don't go up 66. Why are you laughing? That's where we are. I don't know what else to tell you. Exactly it. Thanks for listening, kids. I appreciate it. See you next time. Dave Stoltz was in the house.
Hello.